To customize the name on your embroidery hoop, I don't have a video for that. I'm not really sure how to hook up my computer and show you techie stuff. So go on over to my website. There'll be a link down at the bottom of this video in the description, and it will show you how to change the font. And I have a file for you that I provided that just has the wreath and no words on it so that you can customize the words to make them whatever you want them to be. And the stitch that I used for this font is a stem stitch with 3 strands of embroidery floss, and then I used French knots for dotting my eyes. And you can do that with any monoline font, which means it's just a straight font. It doesn't have any thicker parts, it's just one line, and the stem stitch works really well on that. If you want to experiment and try using a different font that has the thicker parts like this and thinner parts here, this is a back stitch that I did using 3 strands of floss, and for the thinner parts it's just one line of back stitch, and then for the thicker parts I actually outlined in a back stitch and then filled it in with a back stitch. So there's like 3 rows of back stitch is what it ends up being on those thicker parts there. And I'll show you in another video how to do the fonts like this with the thicker letters. But for now, I'll show you how to do a stem stitch so that you can create these letters. Make sure to keep your stitch length really, really short when you're going around these small curves. That's going to help you, especially the tops of these E's and the bottom of this A here. Those are going to be really tight curves, all of these. So keep your stitch length nice and short around those curves. To do a stem stitch, bring your needle up through the back, and then this first stitch you're going to want to make kind of a little bit longer than you normally would, just a little bit. And then before pulling your thread all the way down, you want to bring the needle up at the halfway point between where you came up and where you went down, and then pull that up. And then you will go now a shorter stitch length forward, just a normal stitch length. And then before bringing that down, you want to bring your needle up through the hole that your first stitch length went down into. And then pull that up. And you'll notice I'm keeping my thread is coming out on the same side every time. So let me show you. So I'm doing 1 stitch length forward, bringing my needle up through that last hole, and I'm pulling the thread away this way rather than bringing it under and going that way. It doesn't really matter which way you do it as long as you're consistent the entire time, because what it will do, it gives you a nice kind of twisted look on your whole entire line that you're stitching. And if you start bringing the thread up through the other side, then you won't get that look anymore. If you're doing something that is curved, for example, if you were to do the side of the leaf here, anything that has a curve, I usually like to bring my thread up on the right side if it's a curve going this way, and on that side, on the left side, if it's a curve that's going this way. If it's a curve that kind of goes both directions, then you just start on one side and keep it going on that one side. You don't want to switch sides in the middle of the curve. So let's go back to the stem stitch. 1 stitch down, and then bringing it up through the hole and pulling it away. This is also a really good stitch for outlining things and for doing stems on flowers, hence the name the stem stitch. But it gives the appearance that it's all kind of just one long line instead of multiple stitches, and I like that a lot about this stitch. And at the end here, before I do my last stitch, I kind of like to do just 1 stitch and leave just a tiny bit left that I need to do, so shorter than I would normally do my stitch. So that's a normal stitch length there. And then for the last stitch, it's going to be really short, so just about up to there. I feel like that makes it blend a little bit more seamlessly to make one constant line.